talk about character development, shall we? Valuing the writing depth a fictional character has and representing it on the manga panels is something that requires meticulousness at short and long term in storytelling. If some character's actions are logical in terms of his personality, but at the same time it makes us wonder what is he exactly plotting, that's when a good character is on display. And that's what we're doing first in my video. I present you one of the best written pirates in the story of One Piece, Vinsmoke Sanji. If you hear about a charming chef who only uses his legs for fighting, a man who despises anyone who wastes his food, an exaggerated simp who couldn't ever hit a woman, you can easily picture Sanji. The brilliant part about this badass cook is all those features that seem shallow come from very complex incidents that changed him. He is the impersonation of the expression, "We are the sum total of our experiences." His actions in the story, sometimes controversial, are the definition of his past and how his pure heart has learned from those situations, and therefore his moral code and decisions are firm, even at his life's cost. Sanji is a character that has never ceased to amaze me. I remember I was about 10 years old when the Bharati chapters were broadcasted in my local country TV. I was charmed with his attitude and his rude way to talk and smoke. But that's when I witnessed the first nonsense he committed. Little did I know that he wouldn't be the last one. Sanji wanted to feed the bad guys, although being aware that they would try to kill him after recovering and then try to take the restaurant and keep it to themselves. At that moment I was rooting for his fellow chefs, who were alarmed, trying to stop him. I mean, why would he do that? And then I was even more confused. Even though Krieg shot the cooks, Zeff brought in front of him a sack of food for his 100 men. I couldn't believe my eyes. I got frustrated, seated on the rug in front of my TV. And then my frustration was over 9,000 because the emission was so random that they would publish Orange Town Arc next week. I saved my money to buy volume 6, 7 and 8 because I really needed to know what happened. There, I discovered Sanji and Zeff's past. He rescued Sanji from the storm shipwreck they were caught in, while Zeff was assaulting the ship where the kid was working as a cook apprentice. They ended up stuck on a rocky island, unable to abandon it in search for help or resources because its core was eroded by the sea. It would be impossible to climb back. And as we all know, he fought Sanji with a food share, and he fought me too. He put in Sanji's bag all the food, while his gigantic carrier bag was full of gold and jewelry. As a newcomer in the world of fictional stories, this plot twist shaked my mind. Zeff ate his own leg in order to give Sanji a chance to survive. He didn't have any bond with the kid, but Zeff saw in Sanji the dream he once had to find the All Blue, the legendary sea where fishes from all 4 seas of the world gather, a cook's paradise. He did not want his dream to die in the mind of a starving kid. And then that plot twist hit me even harder because the frustration and bitterness I felt about them feeding Don Krieg's crew turned into more admiration because then I understood they couldn't do any other thing. That's how they are, and they share the same bond. Several years later, I discovered in Whole Cake Island arc that cooking and thinking about discovering the All Blue were the only things that made Sanji happy to be able to endure with a little hope the hell life his family was putting him through. The experience of cooking for his bedridden mother new recipes was his only joy. But that couldn't last for long. She passed away when Sanji was very little. And then he didn't have anyone to cook for. But he kept going. He wanted to become a chef and find the All Blue. So the fact that a strange pirate sacrificed his own leg and probably his own life if the rescue ship had arrived later marked Sanji for life. He learned from that experience the importance of food, and that moral code would never ever change for him. Not much later from the time of his traumatic experience on the island, Zev taught Sanji that he could never hit a woman. He pronounced himself, for the first time, as his father, and from that moment, Sanji couldn't disobey that moral code. It was the first time he had a father, and from that day, it's utterly impossible he stains his honor as Zev's son. Talking about sacrifices, this wasn't the first, but the second time someone made a huge sacrifice in order to save Sanji. His mother, Sora, knowing her children would become emotionless human monsters due to the desire of Judged of creating perfect soldiers, she altered the results of the operation, drinking some counting components. She was only able to save Sanji, and the after effects of the chemical killed her a few years later from giving birth. But she was proud of what she achieved. As Reiji revealed years later, that's the reason why you are kinder than anyone. Remember what I said earlier? Sanji's way of life is the sum up of what he has been through. Sanji's kindness is not by accident, it comes from the uttermost sacrifice of his own mother. And that beautiful accident, Sanji's kindness, has touched many, many hearts along his journey as the cook of the Straw Hat Pirates. He wants Sora to achieve his dream. He wanted to sacrifice himself and not let him die. He saw through Robin's true feelings and through Viola's masquerade. He understood Chopper's real pain and made him, in his own way, to understand they wouldn't judge him because of his appearance. He made Usopp realize a very important lesson when he felt useless and not part of the crew anymore. Sanji heard those wise words from Luffy long time ago in one of the best speeches where Luffy demonstrated how every crew member is essential. And even though he kept them in his mind and repeated that lesson to Usopp in Enies lobby, he never applied that to himself. This is my personal take, but these exact words Vinsmoke Judge told him left a particular mental scar in Sanji's mind, the mentality of being replaceable, expendable, the feeling of being useless. And that's the lesson Sanji could never learn, something he has not gotten through until now. We know he literally was unable to learn it. He was aware of the real truth behind Big Mim's plans for the wedding, the annihilation of the Vinsmoke family to obtain their technology and information. He was okay with dying if his friends and his real father Zev could be saved. He wouldn't ask for help and risk his loved ones' lives. He is not worth it. That torment of self-hatred needed to end in this chapter. To me, this was one of the most important learnings Sanji needed to get in order to be free. I wasn't sure if he would do that without any help, like the last time Luffy did in Whole Cake Island, after letting Sanji beat him and fool himself until he opened his eyes. He was getting beaten pretty badly in that chapter, and I was frustrated about it, but he did. He finally released himself from that burden. I know this was a big essay about Sanji, but part of my life as a One Piece fan has been about being active in Reddit, forums, and the YouTube community, just as a viewer until this year. But I know I am a content creator, so I felt necessary to give my point of view about why I feel frustrated when Sanji is considered a bad-written character only because his gags are vastly remarked. It's not fair. I'm not gonna ask you to measure something as abstract as pride is, but just imagine how hard you'd have to press your teeth if you had to use the device that horrendous family gave to you, because it's the only way to save your situation. Remember what I said earlier? Sanji's kindness and convictions are above anything else, and yes, that includes pride. Moving to the chapter, the reactions we saw from different people in the battleground about Sanji's words gave me more symbolism than I expected in the first place. I cracked a big dumb smile when I saw Nami's reaction. The way she responded with an exasperation face to immediately deduce that the enemy is a woman, it says a lot about how much Nami knows Sanji and her suffering for his bad luck. But my favorite reaction was Marco's one, because unlike the rest of the pirates that were mocking him or feeling confused, he is just smiling, feeling pure joy about the Straw Hats. He understands them perfectly. I bet he felt a familiar sensation. His former captain, Whitebeard, always made sure to treat all his crewmates as his own offsprings. He was their pops, and therefore Marco probably recalled some good memories about his pirate days, about being part of a big family. We discover that Black Maria has broken her promise with Sanji. He asked Nico Robin to come to save him, but she won't free him anyway. He will be added to the same collection of the guys subdued by her.
Joke's on you, I'm into that shit!
Things were looking pretty bad for Sanji. Even though he asked for help, Black Maria's torture wouldn't stop, smashing his head with brass knuckles. It was painful to read. But then, Nico Robin appears. What an entrance! I've been waiting for a Robin chapter for ages. She's one of my favorite Straw Hats, and this chapter made the justice the O'Hara child deserves. I have to point out 3 quotes in this chapter that have a lot of symbolism for her. First, I love the way she thanked Sanji. In terms of story, I know Nico Robin was willing to prove her value as a pirate for her Nakama. To be in the ship is the only place she ever called home. I truly believe that when she said at the end of the chapter that she'd rather be dead than joining Kaido is her way of repaying Luffy about what he finally made to say out of her mouth. She will always be in danger of being captured by pirates and the world government because of her ability to read poneglyphs, and therefore track ancient weapons and the secrets of the Void Century. But ignoring all of that, Sanji trusted in Robin's power to defend herself and also to save him from an enemy he is powerless against. As Sanji said in the previous chapter, you should not underestimate Nico Robin. The girl you intimidated with a obstacle in the past would now make that fleet of ships tremble by her rage. The second thing I loved about Nico Robin's intervention was the way she said that if someone hurts her friends, the demon part inside her would start to emerge. I take that as a poetic way of Robin claiming she is a very proud citizen of O'Hara. She and her scholar friends were labeled as demons just for researching the truth of the world. So yes, she is a very proud demon that will find all the secrets of the Void Century. Because O'Hara hasn't fallen yet. And with these last reflections of a very emotional me, a mammoth who has repaired his hand with flex tape. Momonosuke hiding inside Yamato's clothes.
まさかこれは夢にまで見たラッキーなハプニングのエロ、すなわちラッキーエロ。ありがとう神様。
A bizarre weapon from the Japanese ancient mythology, of which story you can find at the link in the description of this video. And Brook making the Mitten Roshi pervert face after watching boobs. Chapter 1005 ends.